Hello and welcome to Vision Insights. Today myself, C.S. Trupti Upadhyay, will take you to another topic of the lecture series on the company law. As you all know that I have started a lecture series on the company law, specifically covering the syllabus of semester 2 prescribed by University of Calcutta. So the target audience is basically the students of University of Calcutta, but I would request other students from other universities across the country can also view the video if you are preparing for any exam wherein the company law is a subject for more concept clarity. And our professional students appearing for all professional exams like CA, CS, cost accountancy can also view the lectures for their more concept clarity, and it would be helpful for them as well, right? So whether you are preparing for the academic exam, professional exams, or the competitive exams, if you have a subject called company law in your syllabus, then this lecture series would be really helpful to you. So I would request that please kindly share the videos to your friends as much as possible, because whatever you can do in this lockdown to help your friends is this thing. So sharing is caring, people, and you should share the most good information which is available online to your friends so that they can also get the benefit of it. And if you want to share your response that whether you are liking these videos, whether I should do certain things which will otherwise help you more, then kindly comment in the comment section and do share these videos among your friends so that they are also getting the benefits of the same. So today let's start then. These are the few standard books which are available. This is not the, I would say, exhaustive list. You can still include whatever material, whatever online, offline material is available to you. You can go through them. And obviously, I would say that this lecture series is, I would say, more than enough. If you just go through my previous recorded videos, which are available in the channel, that is Vision Insights, and obviously you can revise these. You can watch these videos 2 to 3 times to get a good knack on the topic, and as soon as you complete this topic, then you can revise the MCQ questions, and I would say that it will be really helpful. You will be able to solve the questions. Fine. This is the website of Ministry of Corporate Affairs, wherein you can log in, and it's like this is the ID, this is the I would say URL, and you can go through this website. You will get the access of online ebook on Companies Act 2013. This is the way the ebook looks like. Fine. Today's topic is liability of directors, part 2. So if you have missed part 1, I would request you that as soon as we complete this video, you complete watching this video, you go to the channel and there is a playlist on the company law. Go through this video, that is the liability of directors part 1. Fine. And I would say that questions will be coming from this topic. So this topic is of utmost importance. Fine. Because in previous years also I have found in the question papers of University of Calcutta that these kind of questions have been asked. So this topic is most important, very important for the people who are appearing or going to be appearing for this examination, and for others also this is important, because in real life also when you qualify your company secretary examination or chartered accountancy examination or cost accountancy examination, the first thing a director or the officer of the company will ask you that if I don't comply with this provision, what is the penalty? So you have to remember these numbers, figures and penalties by heart. Okay, and this comes with practice, so don't worry that at the first instance I am not able to remember a single thing. Okay, it happens with everyone, we are human beings, but I would just request you all that just watch this video 2 to 3 times more, and these videos will only help you to remember it. So do a multiple time revision, and obviously these videos are not costing you anything, so it's free of cost. So you can go through it again and again for revision and for doing multiple times of revision, that you remember each and every penalty section number wise. Fine. So all the best. Do study well and let's start today's topic. Previously, we had discussed about the penalties section-wise. So, if you want to check the penalties section-wise and what is the penalty and whom the penalty is being on the company or the directors, you can go through that previous video. That is our part 1 of the liability of directors. We are today doing the part 2 of liability of directors. So, this for you, this is a tabular thing which I have made. And first of all, I would also want to thank to Mondag.com and articles written by all the professionals over there. This topic is beautifully covered in one of the articles of Mondag.com. Fine. Now let's start. Directors are basically responsible to the company first. Company means company and shareholders, all the internal stakeholders basically. Fine. And what are the internal stakeholders? Internal stakeholders are the company's shareholders who appoint them. Appoint the directors. Directors are the employee. We had done that concept in the position of the directors. So if you have missed that video, position of directors, go through that video. It's very interesting video. You will like it. So under that we had learned that directors are appointed by shareholders. So they are responsible to the shareholders. Internally we are talking about the internal stakeholders. Next are the employees of the company. So directors are also liable to the employees. So here we are talking about, I have made it into two parts. Liability of the directors is covered first towards the company and next it will be covered towards the third party. Fine. So this tabular form of representation will help us to remember it very easily, and it's very easy to remember the provisions this way. Breach of fiduciary duty. Directors are, I would say, go through that video in position of directors. It was one of the topic was that the directors are also trustees of the company, right? So there is a fiduciary relationship between the company and the director. Right. So if a director is breaching any of the duties enlisted under section 166 of the Act, then obviously there is a breach of fiduciary duty. On the duties of director, section 166 is beautifully covered under a separate video, which is already there in the channel. You can go through that video first, right? Acts recognize. So Act is recognizing that the most of the powers of the directors are the powers of trust, and acting dishonestly towards the interest of the company or acting in furtherance of their own interest shall entail to a liability. Obviously in section 166 it is written that wherever there is a conflict of interest, the director has to first of all inform that to the company under section 184, right? And if the director does not do so, then there is obviously a breach of trust. That is, this fiduciary duty is being breached, and obviously this leads to a liability on the director personally. Fine. Ultra Vires Act. Powers and duties of the directors are restricted within the articles and MOA of the company. MOA is our Memorandum of Association of Company. When we incorporate a company, the two important documents are the Memorandum of Association and the Articles of Association. Memorandum of Association is basically the charter of the company. Like we have a Constitution of India, the Republic of India has also a constitution. So MOA is the constitution of the company wherein the objects of the company and other clauses are written. There are total 5 clauses written in the MOA of a company. So here MOA and articles are basically the bylaws. So how the internal matters will be discussed or how the internal proceedings of the company will be conducted is written in the articles of the company. Fine. So articles and memorandum guides the director how to act. So if any act of the director is being done and which is not written in the articles or memorandum, either in the articles or in the memorandum or in both, then there is a personal liability which will incur on the director. Fine. Negligent acts. When a director failed to exercise reasonable care, skill and diligence, they shall be deemed to have acted negligently in the discharge of their duties, and consequently directors shall be liable for any loss or damage resulting therefrom. So if a director does anything, director signs any deal with a third party, which is obviously without applying any mind or brain, without applying reasonable care, skills or diligence, then obviously because of the deal, the company is facing certain loss. Then this loss will be compensated by whom? This damage will be compensated by whom? This will be compensated by the director personally, because director acted negligently and did not fulfill his or her duty properly. Acts caused by malified intention. Very much serious thing is there here. Fraud can be covered over here. Malified intention means fraud. Directors are the trustees of the assets of the company, including money and property, and shall also exercise the power over them. Obviously, we know that the company is a legal person. It's a non-natural person. So, natural person, the minds behind the acts of the company is whose mind? The directors' minds. So, if the directors misuse this power, dishonestly perform certain duties which is with a malified intention, to fulfill not the interest of the company or the shareholders, but to fulfill his or her own interest, they siphon the money of the company. They sell off the property of the company and take the money proceeds home. Then what will happen? There is a breach of trust and they will be liable for that. They will be asked to reimburse the company for whatever loss the company faces due to the acts of the directors. Fine. The next part of the discussion is the liability of the directors towards the third party. So now third party comes like any of the person outside the company. So maybe the public at large, maybe the I would say the regulators, that is our MCA, SEBI, RBI, anyone. Okay, so here entire world is covered, that is third parties. Misstatement in the prospectus. Prospectus I have earlier also discussed. It is obviously a document which a company has to file with SEBI if it is a listed company, and or the stock exchanges. Then only this on the basis of this document the company can raise money from the public. Fine. If you want more details of prospectus, you can ask me to make a separate video on it. Fine. Section 35. Actually, prospectus misstatement in prospectus is very much serious issue. So, two different liabilities are there. One is a civil liability covered under section 35 and another is the criminal liability covered under section 34. So, we are discussing each of it. And please remember people, this is very important section. This penalty can come in your examination as a question. Fine. Civil liability, where any person has subscribed to the securities acting on misleading information. Some information is given which is misleading information, wrong information in the prospectus, and someone has prescribed the shares, some party, okay, some public. Any director is liable without any limitation and for all the losses or damage incurred by that person. So, any loss or damage incurred by any person who has subscribed the shares of the company based on relying on the information which is there in the prospectus, then the directors are liable for all the losses incurred by him. Criminal liability on the director is that where a prospectus is issued or circulated or distributed includes any untrue or misleading statement, every person shall be liable under the section 447. Remember, section 447 covers fraud. Penalty under 447, imprisonment of not less than 6 months, which may extend to 10 years. Check out. For a criminal who has done an offense of a rape is also 10 years. So it's a very serious offense. Okay, 6 months to 10 years imprisonment. Fine will be not less than the amount involved in the fraud and may extend to 3 times the amount of fraud. So suppose the fraud was of 10 lakh rupees, you have to pay into 3, that is 30 lakh rupees. It can go beyond that. Fine. Allotment of shares. Failure to repay the application money. In case of allotment, the failure is being made to repay the application money when the application for listing of securities was refused or not made. So before, suppose the company is a new company coming for the first time, they want to issue, they want to get money from the public, and obviously they also want the intent that the company should be listed in our any of the recognized stock exchange, that is our NSE or BSE. And for that, obviously the company has to make an application to the stock exchange and the regulator. So obviously if the stock exchange or the regulator has turned down the request of the company, and company is it is being refused that the shares of the company shall not be listed, and the listing is not made, then what will happen? Then the shareholders, I would not say shareholders, the subscribers money need to be repaid by the company, and company has not repaid the money. What will happen? Section 40. Every company shall, before making a public offer, make an application to the stock exchange and obtain the permission for the securities to get listed. Right? And money received on application from the public shall be kept in a separate bank account. Remember, separate bank account you have to keep the money. Default in complying with this provision, company and the officer in default shall be liable for imprisonment, which may extend to 1 year. So 1 year imprisonment or the fine. Minimum is 50,000, maximum is 3 lakh, or both. Fraudulent trading. Section 339. For any fraudulent conduct of business, every person who was knowingly a party to it shall be liable for this fraudulent trading. Okay?